What's going on, guys? So today I wanted to talk a little bit about building a car for competition drifting. In this case would be Formula Drift Pro Spec, and that's what I've built my 350Z to be I guess legal for. So I'm going to go over a little bit of suspension setup, tech safety stuff, certain chassis kill switches and fire pull tab stations and stuff like that. Just kind of for those that wonder what it actually takes to build a car to compete in these types of events, so you can get a better idea. And also for those of you that aren't like suspension gurus, that need a little guidance in the realm of angle kits and coilovers and spring rates and so on and so forth. So without any further ado, let's get started. So we'll start off with the fun stuff, and that's angle kits. So here we have the FDF Mega Mantis version 2 angle kit. Huge improvement from the version 1. That being said, I can tell you what comes differently on it. I have a video that covers the changes to the version 2, so I won't get too far into it, but it's on-car adjustable, redesigned knuckle, so on and so forth. What a lot of people don't know about angle kits is, like, for example, FDF, even PBM, GK Tech, they all offer just the lower arm kit, which is much cheaper. But what you get with the complete angle kits that have specially designed knuckles, which have roll center correction, is the tire contact patch. So what you'll get a lot of with cars that lock is they'll have a lot of like positive camber, you know, and that means less tire contact patch, right? So the more tire contact patch, the better, right? The more grip you have, so to speak. So when you get something that offers roll center correction, you can lower your vehicle and not have to worry about that excessive camber at lock. What I've been told, and what works pretty well for me, is when you're setting up your alignment, you're going to want to turn your car to about 60% of its angle if you have a kit like this. That's probably where you're going to spend most of your time at, and you're going to want zero camber at 60 degrees of lock, of the lock, excuse me, 60%, not 60 degrees, excuse me. So set it up that way, and then if you don't have some crazy, you know, damn near parallel steering kit like this, you're going to want to maybe take it to like 80% of the lock that you have, and then set it at zero camber there, because that's probably where you'll be at. So angle kits, they're all pretty similar. They're going to do pretty much the same thing. What's key for me, especially in a sport like drifting, is customer service, and FDF's customer service is bar none. Best company I've ever dealt with. They are very helpful. Parts, if something for some reason breaks, you know, they take care of you. They're just a great company. I've had bad experiences in the past with other companies, which I won't name because I'm not going to bash anybody, but FDF is where it's at. I've had PBM, I've had Part Shop Max, for those that don't know what PBM is, GK Tech, Wise Fab, you name it. I've had it all for the Z33 chassis, and I've landed on this for reasons just stated. So moving on from the angle kits, next we'll talk about coilovers. I have Gab's Ssr Coilovers. That their SSR variant stands for Super Special Racing. The reason I went with these coilovers is because they offer a dual damper adjustment, meaning I can adjust the damper settings on the compression and the rebound stroke of the strut. Gab also offers custom spring rates with any coilovers you order from them. It's not just off the shelf crap. As you can see here, it's a little dirty, but they look it's pretty quality billet, nicely done, you know, coilovers. I've had a fair range of coilovers, BC, Tien, however the hell you pronounce it, you know, D2, so Feels, so on and so forth. Feels are a great product, by the way. I'm not saying that this is, you know, better than Feels or whatever, but this is what I have on my car, and it does what I need it to do. Getting a little further into why dual damper is cool in the settings. With drift cars, typically you want the rear a little bit softer than like you would for, say, like an autocross car. Reason being is if you want more grip, you get a little bit of squat on the rear end, and you have some, in this case we have FDF's grip kit in the back, so under a squat you'll actually get some toe in, which will give you that forward bite. So I'll show you the knuckles there in a second after we get done with the front up here, and how they work and all that jazz. But now that you've kind of got a vague idea of how dual damper works, on the rears their dual damper as well, excuse me, so you can finely tune the suspensions to your liking with dual damper. So for example, if you like a lot of like snap in transitions, you can have the compression, the rebound damper set to like a hard setting, so it'll come back up harder, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the like OG Japanese drift techniques, they'll say they like to like load up that rear spring, and so it snaps you back in the other direction when you transition. This is an easier way of dialing that in when you can adjust the damper. You know, if it's too aggressive all the way hard, you can, you know, tune it. So the more adjustability the better, basically, when it comes to suspension. Brakes are equally as important. These are a little overkill, to be honest, for drifting, because we're not, you know, it's not endurance racing, but it is important to be able to slow down quickly. These are stop techs. The Zs come from the factory on some models with the Brembos, so Brembos are more than enough for, you know, pretty much any level of drifting, but I just happen to have these. So now we'll go over a little bit of engine bay setup on a 350Z chassis. This may not really pertain to other chassis, but if for some reason other chassis, I don't mind my hood falling off because it's bolted on. Zs have what's called, I guess you'd call it like a secondary firewall. You can kind of see there, like where I drilled out all the little chassis welds, and took that big piece of metal off. Reason I did that is because in competition, you know, if repairs are needed to be done in between, you know, battles or whatever, the easier your car to work on is the better, right? So all that room behind the engine there allows you to get to bolts much easier than it would if it was there. So there's that. As far as tech stuff goes in the engine bay, you can see the fire spray nozzle there. Those have to be pointed at the fuel rails, the driver compartment, fuel pump, fuel cell if you have one, and we can talk more about that later though. So for now, I'm gonna set the camera down, drop the front of the car, lift the rear up, and show you these gorgeous FDF Billet rear knuckles. Alrighty, on to these fancy FDF Billet rear knuckles. They offer roll center correction, which we just discussed the importance of. They offer adjustable toe in settings. So under squat and under acceleration, your vehicle's wheels can toe in. The reason that's important is because when your wheels toe in under acceleration, it actually gives you forward bite. If you see some like higher end, high horsepower drift cars, and you notice how they can like lunge forward in, like, you know, the chase position, that's due to, you know, forward and side bite. And a kit like this helps you dial all that in. So the cool thing about this particular grip kit is that it replaces all the factory arms. So you get your toe, your camber, your caster, your spring bucket delete, the upper arm there we can kind of see, as well as roll center correction. So they also utilize the factory hubs, which is nice, and it only runs you about $2,000. I know sounds kind of like a big ticket item, but when you think about how much all the arms together would cost you, as well as a dual caliper bracket that you can see we have right here, it's actually a pretty good deal. FDF has been phenomenal with their you know, their customer service and the products that they offer and so on and so forth. Moving away from the grip kit, we look at What's a problem on most Z33 and G35 or V35 or wherever the hell you're from, 350Z and G35 chassis, the diff bushings. These guys are notorious for going out and having a lot of clunking in the rear end. So what we have here is some Delrin diff bushings, which is basically like hockey puck material, solid stuff. I've had those in there for about 5 years. Fantastic, you know, non-maintenance product. And then as well as 6061 billet aluminum subframe bushings. These are FD legal because they keep the subframe in the factory location. They have the little collars up here. Some guys will like take those out and, you know, help with roll center correction that way when they lower their vehicles, but FD requires the subframe stays in factory location. So these are FD legal. Another good thing for the 350Z and G35 chassis, which is kind of covered up by my big old exhaust there, is a diff brace. FDF offers this one. It kind of also doubles as a lower tie bar because it goes from both of the control arm locations there and braces that together along with the top there. So the 350Z diffs are pretty damn strong and have a good amount of gear sets available to them. So a simple diff bushing setup and a diff brace, and you're probably never going to have to really worry about your rear end in these things. What else do we have back here? Oh, we can talk a little bit about dual calipers. So, get off on the floor over here. Dual caliper versus the inline hydro argument. I personally have always chose to run dual calipers because you just don't have to worry about left foot braking in the chase position and having to be on the hydro to add angle. What I mean by that is if you had, say, a single caliper setup with an inline hydro, and say you ripped the hydro, right, you're trying to add some angle, trying to get closer to your buddy's car or whatever, whoever you're chasing, and then you also need to left foot brake, there's going to be that resistance in the brake pressure because you already have the rear brakes locked with the hydro. So it'll give you kind of a weird brake pedal feel. And I want to say it almost it probably affects brake performance as well, without allowing that your brake pedal to be pushed down completely because you have the hydro locked up. So it does, you will notice that with just a independent caliper setup. Another good argument for the dual caliper setup is there's so many aftermarket options available. You can just buy a bracket and bolt on a damn pair of calipers, run your own independent lines in a hydro. It's not much more expensive, you know, and then you have no weird brake feeling. So can't really argue that too much. If you're on a super tight budget or whatever, inline hydro works fine. If it's just a party car and you don't really have to worry about left foot braking too much because you're not like on doors, then whatever. But dual calipers is where it's at. That's my opinion. So with also back to the grip kit real quick, now that I'm looking at my coilovers, we have this, like I talked about, the second reservoir here. So for the rear, for me, I have that all the way on the soft setting, and I have a 7K spring rating, which like most off-the-shelf coilovers for 350Zs are like 10K, so it's a little bit softer. That allows the car to squat, toe in. I'm building this car for a lot of forward bite because it's going to be getting a 700 horsepower LS3 in it, so I'm going to want it to grip up and go. That about covers it for suspension setup. So now we can talk a little bit about like safety, technical stuff. So we can start with the cage. You will need essentially what I guess you can refer to as a full roll cage. You know, the headache bar, the A-pillar, I think those are called A-pillar bars. You will need your anti-intrusion bars. And if you have like a rear-mounted fuel cell or like a rear-mounted radiator, car's kind of taking apart, so bear with me. You will need a partition, sheet metal partition. I had a rear-mounted radiator in here because I had a crazy VQ turbo setup. Ended up going away with that, so now the radiator's going back in the front. So I technically don't even really need this partition, but it's there, so it's just going to stay. Cages. Right now, I know cage material is pretty expensive. It can cost you $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 depending on how crazy you want to get with X bars and so on and so forth. Like this cage total, and this was a couple years ago I had this done, so it was a little cheaper then, but it's $2,500 for the cage and like $1,200 for this partition, because it is not too far off from being basically watertight. So that's a kind of a good huge plus. You don't really want like a whole bunch of like you know, fuel or antifreeze, hot antifreeze or hot coolant dousing all over you if you back your car up into a wall or somebody plows into you at the track or whatever, you know. So also for the roll cage, you will need, if any part of your helmet can come in contact with the cage, you will need some SFI padding, just so you're not like whacking your noodle on straight steel. That about covers it for the cage. Fire suppression system, also very important, because why not spend $500? Even if you're not doing like competitive drifting, like why not spend the $500 on peace of mind, knowing that if your freaking shitbox catches on fire, you can pull a tab and have nozzles in specific locations in the vehicle put out a fire. So FD requires them. I think more places should require these type of fire suppression systems. They're not expensive, they're really easy to install, and I mean, safety should be your #1 priority at the track. That's my opinion. As far as FD is concerned, there needs to be one in the driver's compartment that's not directly pointed at the driver. There needs to be one pointed at the fuel pump, the fuel tank assembly there, and as well as one in the engine bay that would point at the fuel rails, or fuel pressure regulator if you're running one of those in the engine bay. Here, that pretty much covers the fire suppression system. Safety switches, like cutoff safety switches. There needs to be an externally mounted kill switch, which would basically turn your car off in the middle of a run if you crash and say it's running stuck in a wall, you know, whatever. Externally mounted kill switch. I'm going to be painting the vehicle, but afterwards there's usually like a little indicator here. It says on off, you know, or whatever, so somebody, emergency crew, knows this is where you turn the car off at. Back to the inside of the car, almost forgot. And next, and one of the more stylish things about safety, SFI rated bucket seats. Can't be expired. Excuse me, FIA, not SFI, whatever. Can't be expired, have to be up to date. I believe FD requires the Halo type of seats. 5-point harnesses, you can't just run the 4-point, you gotta have the crotch belt. Also, with these seats and seat belts, you will need what's called a Hans device, a head and neck restraint. They're like $3 to $4, maybe $500. The one I have is $500. I'm the kind of person that cheaps out on safety equipment. So with that being said, that's something else you can incorporate into your seat budget, I guess you could call it. What else do we have for FD setup? There's really not much more to it other than that. Me personally, I like to simplify things. I have, it's a little taken apart right now because I just pulled the VQ out of it, but I have ASD hydro setup, my independent lines, but I have a Switch Pro switch panel. Real simple. That's all it is right there. And then one little fuse block right there. And that pretty much covers like the wiring on. I got my, you can see it back there, my little fire suppression, fire extinguisher for the fire suppression system. Other than that, guys, I think that's pretty much all there is as far as my particular suspension setup and FD technical regulations for the car. There's a huge booklet online you can go through with FD Tech, but a lot of it doesn't pertain to most builds. If you keep your chassis pretty much stock and add a roll cage and put a fire suppression system in it and get proper seats and the proper external kill switches and so on and so forth, you should be pretty good to go. Oh, one more thing. Regardless of stock chassis, whatever, you also need a drive shaft safety loop. That has to be, I think, within like 8 or 10 inches of the transmission like output shaft. What else do I remember from tech? That was pretty much it. Just just one quick look before I forget something else and have to add it in later. Nope, that's it. So, hope you like the first segment of building a Formula Drift Prospect vehicle. The next video, we're going to be talking more about like power plant options, transmission options, gearing options, clutches, between the difference between like a nice twin disc setup versus just a, you know, single disc clutch, something you run like in a stock street car, and what the advantages of revving up, so on and so forth. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and we'll be back for more later.